Okay guys, so here we are. That's the 1975 Winnebago Custom. One of probably the only ones left to exist. I'm going to crawl under the coach and show a few things about it, make it special. So bear with me here. I'm going to pause and climb under there. Well, actually, okay, so first thing is climbing underneath. Something that's special about heavy duty RVs. The dampener. That is about an inch wide, but it doesn't have a balancer attached to it. They have a much larger one that goes on some of the smaller 440 powered RVs. And the reason that is because they came with a cast crank. This is a 25-foot M500 chassis with a forged crank, so it's internally balanced. And what that means is back there on that leaky transmission, there are no balance weights welded to the converter. These came with 6-pack rods, which are pretty beefy. From what I've read online, people have not seen one broken yet, and so I'm pretty appreciative of that. But the forged crank is a pretty tough unit. Makes this an exceptionally tough unit, and even though it's relatively dirty under here, this chassis only has about 5,325 miles on it total. It's sat the majority of its life, and so I'm having to go through it and just make sure that things aren't tore up. But I mean, like, little parts like that are still intact. You know, the little spacers at the end of the leafs on the leaf spring, and you know, the transmission lines still have the original markings on them. And you know, that's not the original exhaust back there, because the previous owner wanted to put glass packs and have them side dump, but he didn't put an H or an X pipe in, so the banks are not balanced like they should be. Which I have headers for. I'll make another video about that. So in here are the brakes for an M500 chassis. They're dual piston, Carlisle Hayes with Bud wheels. They are 5x8 lug, and they are lug centric. They are specific to this M500 chassis. I have been trying to find Alcoas to go to this chassis, because I want nice pretty aluminum wheels that I can polish up and look fancy, but I haven't found any yet, unfortunately. So I've been doing research on doing hub and axle swaps and things like that. And the M400 chassis has 8 lug centric wheels on it also, but those would be much easier to adapt. So the front axle, I have no idea who manufactured it or what's its name, so I couldn't find a part for this if I had to. Plus, all of the I-beam axles that I run across, they don't have the knuckle fit in the way that does. Instead of the knuckle going in the center, most knuckles go over the outsides. And so, you know, like the steering equipment and all that whatnot would be pretty easy to adapt. It wouldn't be too hard to figure out and make something work off of like a modern Dodge. You know, because like the rod from the pitman arm can obviously be shortened. It's steel, you can cut it and weld it, and that's not going to be an issue. But like ball joints like this are going to become harder and harder to find, you know. And those are just like little parts that I'm going to have to figure out how to replace, and it may not be that much of an issue. If that is a bar that can't be replaced, then we've got a problem. But I have a fleeting suspicion that there's other vehicles that have the same style of suspension on it. This does have front disc brakes. They're 13 and some change in diameter. They are captured behind the hub like most Dodges are. It's got a ride safe kit on it, so if I have a blowout, I won't kill myself. Makes it ride like crap, but I'd much rather have a crappy ride than a dead body. So another neat little thing that I did is I installed a Summit Racing alternator, but I lost a shim. If you can see, it looks crooked in there, and you're right, it is crooked. I've got to take all of the bracketry apart on this side and get it all shimmed out correctly so that the belt fits. I bought a 1/4-inch belt to make it work for the time being. And that's basically all that's been done to it. Like, I've got a leak at the water pump housing, and I plan on taking that off and cleaning it out, and I plan on taking this radiator off and having it record. But yeah, that's the filter that I've got for it. I don't remember what was special about it. I think it's a high flow filter because I've got a high flow pump installed, or a high volume. And so yeah, that's it for the front end underneaths. We'll go to the back next. So on the front of the chassis, I've got the simulators installed, and I plan on taking those off. I don't like them. I don't want fake chrome, I want real chrome. And so, like I was saying, these are lug centric. So on the outside, you got 1 1/2 inch, 425 pound-feet. And then I forgot what the size of the stud is on the inside, but this is 13/16 4-point. That's 450 pound-feet to align the wheels. As you can see, the wheels have got space between it and the hub. So they have to be centered on the lug. Now, this is a Dana 70, pretty common, except for this monster right here. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 bolts. Now, they make a lot of the 6-bolt hubs. But the problem that I'm having is that these axles are a different length than all of the other 6 and 8 lug hubs. Dana 70 used the same, or Dana used the same hub for the majority of their 70 installations. So the spindle on the inside has the same bearings that this hub uses and the M400 uses and most trucks use. Why Dodge opted for this system, for this chassis, when they have an even larger one that doesn't use this system is beyond me. But I installed some China bombs on here, two 2570R 19.5. They were on sale. They were about $100 a piece. So definitely had to stomp on that, because I'm not planning on driving across the country with this thing, especially not with the 3-speed A727 and these little bitty tires. I'm going to absolutely have to have an overdrive. But, you know, to drive it on the expressway about 45 miles an hour, or to Shepherdsville to go take a little camping trip at the KOA, yeah, that's cool. But I'm not going to drive it to Colorado anytime soon, because I would end up blowing my transmission up, or my motor up, spinning it beyond 5,000 RPMs. So we'll crawl under here. And I've got the wheels chalked. I don't ever get under here without the wheels chalked. So here's the A727. Not the A727. The Dana 70 HD. It's got 3-inch, I think it's either 3 or 4-inch axle tubes. And then it's got drum brakes back here. The drum brakes attach by a big ring, and I'm thinking I might be able to get an adapter kit for that, but I don't want to get into adaptations unless I can find a hub that will work with this chassis first. It also has dual wheel cylinders. As you can see, the 2 hoses that come down from the top, the brake lines. So go across, and I don't know if that block there is just a distribution block. This one right, I don't know if that's a distribution block or a metering block or a proportioning valve, but there's no real such thing as a proportioning valve. It's actually a fluid pressure limiting valve. And so from what I can feel, I've never gotten into it, but there's a little dust cap up here, and so what I'm assuming is that dust cap is to relieve the pressure at the back half of the system. And usually when they have a dust cap like that, they have a metering valve or a regulation valve. So on this side you can see it's, you know, big old drums. I don't remember the size of the drums. Pads are huge. I think they're 15-inch in diameter drum. and then 5-inch pads on the inside. I wanted to put air shocks in here, but as you can see, there's not a lot of room between these heavy springs and the chassis itself. Let's see if I can get you up here. Yep. See, not a lot of room there. And so, look at it that way, and not much room. And they're offset from each other. Now, I could take some springs out, take some leaves out, make it work a little better, or I could put the air strut all the way up on the top of the frame rail, attach and come out. But that's another later date, because I don't even know if this axle is going to live in here for very long. So if I find like a Dana 80 that I can swap out that's got the same wheel hub to wheel hub measurement or wheel mating surface, it's coming out and it's going bye-bye. So another strange thing about this chassis here is it's got two brake boosters, Hydrovac brake boosters, and one is for the front braking circuit and one is for the rear braking circuit. It's got one master cylinder that's specific to this chassis. Without it, it won't produce the proper amount of pressure. And so it's imperative that you install the correct parts on this particular chassis. So you may be able to see up there, there is what looks like a brake drum on the end of the transmission, and that is in fact a brake drum. It is the parking brake. It is a 1940-1950s Chrysler product that they use specifically for the motorhome chassis. I haven't seen it used anywhere else except here. But, you know, I've got like black lines and stuff like that, and I got an Onan generator, which I'll get into. But this is just the underneath. It's got a 4.56 rear end gearing. It's supposed to have 8R 19.5 wheels or tires. It's got 19.5 wheels. So that's about it. We got a propane system here. One back there. Yep, that's it for now, guys.